Welcome to The Deciding Point, our Cracked Racquets weekly roundup of the biggest storylines happening from throughout the tennis world. As you can imagine, on this week's show, I'm going to recap the year's second Grand Slam, the 2021 French Open, delivering us the goods as tennis fans over the past 2 weeks in Paris. In fact, there was so much fantastic action for me to discuss. We're going to make today's show a two-parter. On this edition, I'm going to recap the men's singles draw and name a combination of 5 winners and losers I have from the event. I'm going to do the same thing for the women's singles draw in a subsequent show that all of you listeners can both hear on our Great Shot podcast feed, find on our YouTube channel as well. But again, those are the topics for this week's Deciding Point. On this show, I'm going to recap the men's singles draw. On the other show, I'm going to talk women's singles. With that in mind, Westoff, roll those credits. Let's start today's show. Next up, I think we have to talk about one of the losers from this event, and it's pretty clear the French Tennis Federation comes out of this event as a loser. You just look at the various missteps, the scheduling issues from start to finish in this event, the fact that they were playing night matches that could have been avoided, that could have had fans, particularly round of 16, early quarterfinals. You start those matches a little bit earlier, and I get why they did it, because they wanted the American television audience, and as an American, I certainly appreciate that, but you know what I appreciated even more? The opportunity to have fans in the crowd. And there's no question the opportunity to keep Rafa and Djokovic fans in the stands during that semifinal match, that was a blessing to end the home stretch of the event that, quite frankly, as tennis fans, given what all we've gone through these last 15 months, we deserved. But just countless scheduling errors, the fact that, you look even as early as the first round, the fact that Carla Suarez Navarro wasn't playing in front of fans. That was probably her last French Open match. That's ridiculous. And just various missteps like that along the way. Of course, the obvious one, the treatment of Naomi Osaka to start the event, just the mishandling from start to finish of that versus the way they handled the Federer withdrawal. I mean, obviously they learned their lesson from the first one, but it's just unexcusable. And again, to coordinate with the other Grand Slams, to gang up on her when she was at her most vulnerable. We litigated all of this early last week, but it's just worth repeating. It was unacceptable. And I know they're trying their best. And I know we're holding these events amidst a pandemic, but these are the premier organizations. There's a reason you are granted a Grand Slam, and you are supposed to be better than this. And they weren't better than this. At any point of the event, the problems kept persisting. Even little things like Hawkeye and, the fact that those debates keep continuing. The French Tennis Federation just doesn't come out and say, look, the technology's not good enough. And I know they'll say, well, we have said that. We'll say it every day. Tweet it out at the start of every day. Just say, hey, a reminder to everyone, Hawkeye technology is not yet applicable on clay courts. I know it because I've been told it a million times. Spread that message. Perhaps it will become more synonymous with just the fact, or with the surface, and we won't question those line calls moving forward, but just, again, the various stops in matches to ensure fans had to leave the stadium, just all of these little things, the lack of accommodations. You read some of the stories about how doubles players were treated in the slicing of their prize money unexpectedly, in the slicing of their resources at the event, their inability to find practice courts. It's just a nightmare. It's unacceptable if you are running one of the 4 premier events on the tennis calendar. Now, again, the tennis delivered, and that's a credit to Djokovic Nadal playing a classic semifinal match. It's a credit to Tsitsipas and Djokovic in that final 5 sets as well. I think I said Tsitsipas Nadal. I meant Djokovic and Nadal in the semifinals. Even Tsitsipas Zverev going 5 sets. Of course, all of the drama on the women's side. Swiatek getting knocked out by Sakkari. The 3-setter played between Sakkari and Krejcikova. All of the fantastic tennis on the women's side as well. Krejcikova joining Mary Pierce, or becoming the first player since Mary Pierce in 2000 to win both the women's singles and women's doubles event in the same tournament. There was a lot of fantastic action at this French Open. That doesn't mean the event was run well. And just moving forward, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the French Tennis Federation because there's a lot of angry players, and it just adds to the continuing, lingering anger festering amongst, in particular, ATP Tour players who happen to be the grouchier of the bunch, but again, you hear it from the doubles players as well. And if you piss off 3/4 of the field, now you've got yourself a problem. And it's just something to keep an eye on. Certainly, so you have to say, amongst the losers in this event, French Tennis Federation is one of them.